Can you tell us a little more about why this is so important for kids? I know a lot of the work you do is with parents, but you also do work with kids. In your piece on code, you encourage Black and Brown students to work hard and put in the extra mile. What advice do you have for teachers to help students discover that agency?
Yeah, well, there's a few things in there. One, on code is a piece that I wrote as part of a collective. I used to have this be a part of this nice podcast called A Black Hands, and the four of us wrote a piece, and I did the chapter on youth agency and getting that in young people. And as a young person, I was what they used to call a latchkey kid. I don't know if that's still a term here, but I didn't have super crazy parent advocates. They did the best they could. I had a father who was like, "You're not going outside until you do this homework," or who looked at my grades and held me to account in that way. But I was very much responsible for my own academics early. I'm talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like and up. And I had to be the driver in that in a lot of different ways. And so, when I'm talking with young people, it's like, listen, you have a role to play in this, and you're the person that has to live with these consequences. No, regardless of how dope or bad your teacher is, like you got to live with this stuff, and I want to make this thing work for you and whatever that means for you. So that's part of it. There was a lot in that question, Dr. Stephanie. So if I missed, just give me those points again that you want me to hit.
Well,
Yeah.
for our teachers, how do we get teachers to get kids to discover their agency? What kind
Yeah,
of moves do teachers have to make?
I think there's a few. I'm gonna be very honest in this. I think the first is to be good at your job. Know your craft and know your content. It's evident when a teacher does not know their content. I think when you know it very, very well, I think that comes out. Let me give you an example. One of the best teachers I had who just retired, Mr. Brown, he's still in West Oakland today. He just retired last year. I mean, but he knew algebra so well that he turned it into history lessons, and that's where I first learned about Kemet and like that. Oh, there's people that look like me that actually started this thing, and he would put in. He knew it so well. He would almost set it up like a like a spelling definitions test where he would give us Pythagorean theorem and things like that, and we'd have to go know the definitions of it, and then we'd have to do application for it. And it wasn't just like giving us the math lesson. It was a way to make us comfortable in a math context and what that looks like in real life, and also the historical component around it, right? That wasn't fully his job, but the way he has such a handle, he could really work with us and relate to us in a different type of way. But I think that's one, is knowing your content really well. I think two is just being really, really honest and being honest with yourself. And what I mean by that is I know really, really nice people that are teachers, but not good teachers. And what I mean is they want to be liked by kids. They want kids to kind of almost be their friend. And I've seen, especially when people from outside of our community. I grew up in Oakland, y'all. I'm an Oakland kid. I'm from North Oakland, I'm from 54th and Gaskill. And if I wanted something or I saw a weakness and I can manipulate that teacher and give you a sob story and not have to do work and be responsible, I would. I think when I say I can tell when a teacher is like pulling the potential out of a student, pushing them to be as good as they are. But that niceness can kill you. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying don't be a decent person. I'm not saying, don't listen to young people and things like that. But what I'm saying is, if you got a job to do and your job is to make sure I know this section of this lesson, is make sure I know it. I don't need you to say, well, he grew up in shelters and he was poor, so he don't need to know this lesson. No, because I grew up in shelters and because I'm really, really poor, I absolutely need to know it. I need to know what's possible there. It's not enough that you feel good for the 6 or 7 months I might be in your class. You know what I'm saying? And then when I leave you, I'm not any better off, but you got to feel good. And so I think that's another thing. The third is, I think that you have to set up an environment that is very, very honest with young people. And like, I think that what I mean by that is like, look, learning has to be like it's a two-way thing. It is a thing that like can be precious and special and all that good stuff. I went to a lot of schools, man, and I've heard this so many times where a teacher has just flat out told me, I got mine, you better get yours. Like, like I've been told, you'd be surprised as a young Black boy, the stuff that I was called and told by teachers. And I think that let me know really early on kind of where I stood. But I had some good people around me that would make up for that. But a lot of those people did a lot of damage. And it just kind of is what it is. So I think those are three things to start with. I can keep going, but you know, some of it needs to be contextual.
It reminds me a little bit, Sadiqa, of a conversation that we had recently. You telling me about some of the things that you do to help kids discover their agency. Can you talk a little bit about that?
A lot of it has to do with instilling values in my students so that they question everything that is going on in the classroom. Never take my word for it. It is okay for you to question the grade that you have. Know what your rights are. You can come to your teacher and say, I noticed this on my grade. You know, do I have the opportunity to take it again? I noticed that I didn't get this section. Can we work together? Allowing the students to empower themselves and speaking up for themselves gives them that agency. And it's something that's been an ongoing process. And I'm not going to say that anyone taught it to me. It was really just being in an environment that pushed me. And my experiences, like with my family, have taught me to question, to go for what I know I deserve, what I'm entitled to. And I've always worked with students instilling those values. And so I do have students every year, and I'm always so like passionate about it, where they come to me and they're like, can I do it again? I have students who have been failing. And when you tell them and you show the investment of, let me talk to you about your grade, and they're like, wait, she's actually asking me. I have students who didn't talk at the beginning of the school year who are talking to me now. Students who didn't do work, and they're like, hey, can I try again? Can I do it on the board? I want to try it again. Instilling these values in these students empowers them so much. And so for me, it's just been a natural thing that has been going on in my classroom. And hear, you know, others talking about it, it validates what I've been doing. So this entire, you know, conversation and everything that I've been reading thus far, it just resonates. And I know that it speaks true to what we need to develop in our communities.